Hi, this is April.
Hello, April. Dale Brown is on the line. Are you ready for her contact ID number? My name, by the way, I'm Donalyn.
I am, thank you.
Okay.
Hi, Dale.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are
Thank you,
you?
Dale. Thank you, April.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Dale, my name is April, and I'm a licensed agent in the state of Virginia. And I do need to let you know that our call may be monitored and recorded today. And I understand that you may be looking at some different options to protect your family if you were to pass away.
Yes.
Okay. And I'm curious, were you potentially looking at this just for yourself or for anyone else as well?
Yeah, just for me.
Okay. So, Dale, before I go into what we do, I just have a few questions that I'd like to ask you so I can get a better understanding of what you might be looking for and make sure that I can even help you in the first place, okay?
Okay.
Okay, so what type of protection do you currently have in place for your
I don't
family?
have any right now, so I'm looking for life insurance for myself. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, and how long have you been looking now?
Um, it's been a few months off and on.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely. Okay, and have you ever had a policy before?
I did, and I kind of got disappointed with him.
Wait, I have a quick question. I got distracted by the telesales group. Oh, thank you guys for posting it for me. Um, when she said, I have to rewind real quick because something you just said made me think you missed something.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, and have you ever
Is that a
Mm.
question you normally skip, by the way?
Um,
That
the
so I
question,
don't have the script in front of me. I just obviously it's just ingrained in my brain so much. The question, so she had given you like the most perfect answer you could have gotten, and I know that you sold her anyways, but I want to make
Mhm.
sure this doesn't become a habit and a
Sure.
pattern. So she was looking for 3 or 4 months. So that's a really good opportunity for you to ask her, "Oh wow, you've been looking for a few months. What have you found?"
Right. Yeah, and I actually don't always skip that question. I'm not sure why I did yesterday.
Okay, so what have you
Hmm.
found? Why that question is really important, and this is for everyone on this call, is because they're now going to tell you how frustrating it's been
Hmm.
looking for the last 3 or 4 months and pretty much finding nothing because information is confusing and it allows you to extract feelings.
Hmm.
You can reply back to them and say, wow, that must feel a little frustrating, or
For
that
sure.
must have you feeling a little stressed. And again, this feedback's for everyone. That's an important question to not miss.
Absolutely.
before?
I did, and I kind of got disappointed with him,
Okay,
so I ended up canceling.
sure,
So yeah.
sure. Can I ask what it was about them that you weren't satisfied with?
Well, when I tried to get a hold of him, I was transferred. The agent I had,
Hmm.
another name came up, and then I left a message, several messages, and no one contacted me.
Oh no, sorry to
So
hear
yeah.
that. Okay, okay. So, what expenses?
What's another question April could have asked there?
What about that frustrated you the most, maybe?
That's not bad. So basically the customer was saying she had canceled the policy, but she got frustrated. I don't necessarily believe the only reason she canceled it is because when she called, she couldn't get a hold of someone.
Hmm.
She called for a reason, right? So what was it about that policy
Hmm.
that had her frustrated to where she felt like she had to call?
Right.
Right. So,
Okay.
yeah, I understand how that can be really frustrating. What prompted you to call them in the first place?
Okay.
So, just because that really didn't give you the information you were looking for, it was
Right.
still very surface.
Hmm.
Well, because I mean, that wasn't the reason. That was probably like the straw that broke the camel's back
Okay.
for her.
Yeah.
So it would have probably been even better to at that point dig deeper and find out why she even called in the first place, because then you're
Okay.
going to get even more. I mean, she sounds like she was pretty much, you can tell in the beginning when they're pretty much ready to make a decision,
Yeah.
on something, but still it's not always going to be like that. And so it's going to be really important to hear those key things that people are saying and know when to ask better questions.
Yeah. I thought it was strange that she was willing to, throw all that money away that she had already put into the policy just for not getting in touch with someone. So that's a good point.
Yeah, but you didn't ask.
I didn't.
Most concerned about your family having to pay for?
Well, more into burial.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
And so between a burial versus a cremation, you're leaning towards more the burial?
Well, more towards cremation.
Oh, cremation.
But, I just don't want anybody to have to pay anything out their pocket.
Absolutely. Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know, cremation is significantly cheaper than a
Yeah.
burial. So
Yeah.
that would help drastically. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So, God forbid you were to pass away tomorrow, because, nobody knows the day or the hour, but
Right.
but who in your family would be the one responsible for going down to the funeral home and meeting with the director?
I would, my sister.
Okay. And what's your sister's
Yeah.
name, Dale?
Kim, Kim Pittner.
Okay. All right. I've already covered that. So let's see. I'm just going to go over.
Why am I pausing?
Because I just jumped ahead.
No, you know.
Because I already covered that.
Oh, I
Yes.
did. Yeah, I know. I laughed at myself when I heard that.
Yeah, don't make it like a checklist.
Yeah.
Right? These
For sure.
questions, you want them to come out like they're the next appropriate thing to say because
For
you
sure.
thought of it off the top of your head.
Okay.
Is that we do.
Mm-hmm.
It's important.
Oh, wait, what? You're already there?
I know, that's what I said. I jumped ahead. I don't have the script in front of me, but I know I
No,
skipped.
that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't have it in front of me either. But so we didn't ask the consequence question.
Mhm.
Have you thought about what would happen if, you decided not to do anything at all? What other questions in there? Who has the script in front of them?
I can try to find it here.
And when we go through these recordings, we're actually only going to be going over the discovery section because
Oh, so
this
I'm over.
is this is the most
Important. Yeah.
important part of the whole script.
Mhm.
Anybody can talk about how their program works. That's
Sure.
the easy part. There's not a whole lot of critical thinking to do. The hard part is getting them to break down and open up. And that part should take longer than 3 minutes in most
Right.
cases. So what other types of questions, guys, do you think would have been appropriate for April to ask?
Did April recap or did she just?
She didn't. Very good, Stephen. So why is recapping so important?
It lets them know that you're actually listening to what they're saying.
Yeah, and practicing the recap on these calls will help you reinforce you actually doing it. So who wants to, or April, since it's your call, I want to hear you do a recap of the information you gathered.
Okay, Dale, I hear that you really had a inconvenient time, or no, sorry, I'm just waking up. You were really dissatisfied with your last insurance company, and
because we don't know.
Yeah, well, as far as I know, you weren't able to get through to an agent, and you were passed around on the phone, but you're looking to just be cremated to save some money for your family. And this part, I think I do need to practice on because I always it comes out weird, I think, when I recap with people. So I definitely need to practice. But
who else wants to do a recap on April's call?
I'll do it.
Okay, go ahead, Desmond.
Okay, great, Dale. So as I understand it from right now, you recently did have some form of life insurance in place, but something happened there that really frustrated you. And when you tried to call people to get resolved, you kind of got passed around and never really got an answer for what you actually, whatever your concern was. But now, you've actually canceled that policy and you've been looking for another 3 months or so to really see exactly what can be done that's going to work well with you. And, with what you're trying to do something to protect your daughter from actually having to have the fees
Sister.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh,
Sister.
sister. I'm
Sister,
sorry,
yeah.
sister. Sorry. Just have your sister protect your sister from actually having to have any costs of anything when you do pass away and just make sure that your cremation is done in a manner that you're looking for. Is that really, I'm understanding you correctly, right?
That's really good, Desmond.
That
Great
was good.
job.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Does anyone else want to give it a shot?
I just want to say something to April.
Yeah.
I know you said that you've had, a little bit of an issue with your recaps. What I like to do that
Mhm.
helps me is I write down like keywords
Okay.
based on the answers they give me. Like, who would it be, that's going to take care of the responsibilities? She says sister, I'll write sister.
Hmm.
And every question beyond that, up until the point that I have to recap, I'll just write keywords. So when I go through that recap, just because I have those keywords, it helps me remember exactly what she says. And it helps me recap exactly how I need to. And
Sure.
usually it just works.
Okay. Thank you.
Maybe that's something you can try.
Yeah.
Writing things down is really, really important. I buy the Amazon pack of 10 or 20 spiral line notebooks,
Hmm.
and I probably go through one a week
Wow. Okay.
because I'm writing everything. I'll even write down the person's name, and every little key thing that they tell me in the discovery section is so important because where some people make a mistake when they recap is they only take like the last third or the
Right.
last quarter of what was discussed and they don't go back far enough. You really have to go all the way back like
the
you did
beginning.
when you
Mhm.
started. It would be more like, okay, so let me see if I understand, Dale. You had life insurance for a while, but you ended up having to cancel it. And I would have found out the reason, right?
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
ended up having to cancel it because the price was going up and you didn't understand why. And you weren't even able to get a hold of anyone to help you. And so that caused you, a little frustration and you ended up canceling it. So now you have no coverage. Been looking for 3 or 4 months now, really haven't found anything, and that's probably caused you to be a little bit stressed too. Ultimately, you just want to make sure that your sister doesn't have to come out of pocket and pay for the cost of your cremation and that everything, pretty much just goes really smooth for you so you have peace of mind that this is taken care of. Does it sound like I got that all right, Dale?
Yeah, that sounds
That's
really good.
yeah, very good.
Yeah.
So
Thank
you
you.
want to make a point to insert 2 to 3 feeling words.
Okay.
Don't
Okay.
just keep it about facts. You
Okay.
have to say it's caused you to feel X, Y, and Z, and always downplay the feeling, by the way. You don't want to just come right out of the gates and say it's caused you to feel very stressed or
Okay.
extremely frustrated. You want to downplay it a little bit on purpose because if it is more than, if it is extremely or a lot, they'll actually come out and correct you, which you
Mhm.
want them to do. So
Right.
I imagine that's caused you to feel maybe a little bit stressed because sometimes people will say a little,
Mhm. Okay.
and now they're really connecting with you because you get it. Like
Okay.
you're on the same level with them. Because when you start out as a salesperson, you're automatically like down here
Mhm.
as far as, how they view you as a salesperson. And the whole goal is to not really to be all the way up here so that you're talking over them, but you want to be at like a level playing field
Mhm.
and slightly elevated so that way you're positioning yourself as there is no one else to talk to. This is my person.
Got it.
Right.
So great job.
Me
Okay,
too.
who wants to go next? Great job, April.
Oh, thanks.
Now you have things to work on.
Yeah.
All right, you can do me.
Okay.
Because I know there's a question that it feels funny when I ask you because people, we'll hear what happens. Let's see.
It's the same thing every time.
I mean, not every time. Some people, they follow along, but
So
then
we can
some
do
people, I don't
Scott Freeman.
Scott
We
Freeman.
can do Linda Scott.
Scott Freeman. Did I sell him yesterday?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, let's check him out.
Hello?
Yes, hello, Scott.
Yeah.
How you
Who
doing,
called?
sir? This is Malik, and the reason for my call, it looks like that you have responded to one of our quote request forms to possibly look at some options to protect your family if you were to pass away. So I'm just getting back to you to see if I can help you out with that. Now, I show a date of birth here for you as of August, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, now were you just looking for yourself or were you looking for anyone else as well?
I just looking for me.
Just looking for yourself? Okay. Now, I do want you to know the call is recorded for quality assurance, so I just want to confirm that I have the rest of your information correct that came through. Now, I have your name, Scott, with the last name. Okay, very good. All right, so Freeman, before I do go into what we do here, I just have a few questions I would like to ask you. That way, I can get a better understanding of what you might be looking for and make sure that I can even help you out in the first place. Okay? All right. Now, what type of protection, if any, do you currently have for your family in case something were to happen to you?
None.
None. Okay, so there's no policy in place. How about any kind of safety net, like a maybe savings account, investment, or anything at all to help ease the burden for your family when you pass away?
No, not right now. You know, nothing that I can see for the future. You know?
Okay. All right, not a problem. So before here.
Can someone tell me why we ask that follow-up question? Because I know some of you skip it. Why is it important to ask that second question?
Hey, you want me to answer that for you?
Anyone?
Well, it's important because, well, to me, it seems as if we want to know if they've been thinking about putting some sort of protection in place for their family.
The second question was, what about any sort of savings or investments or anything else at all that might be there to ease the burden?
If they have a checking account, because I have an issue with that. Like if they have, it shows
No,
that
that's not the reason.
it shows that they're responsible, or
No.
it builds the need.
It identifies if they're actually going to say that they want to just pay it on their own and not get insurance ahead of time.
Interesting way to look at it, but that's not the reason.
Okay, now you have to tell us.
I know, I'd like to know actually.
Well, yeah, it's eye-opening for me too, to see your guys' level of understanding of the methodology of why things are there. Anyone?
Does that help us determine when we get to the amount of coverage that we're going to offer them? Does it if they have a safety net, does that help? No. Okay.
I'd like to know, because I had somebody kind of get offended at that question, like, well, why does that matter? And I was like, well, why does that matter?
Okay, so that's good.
I do want to know.
The reason we ask this question is so that they can tell themselves they have nothing.
Gotcha.
Oh, that's a good one. That's very interesting.
Okay, so do we have something in place? No. What about any other safety net? I don't have anything. So the reason we're asking that question is because 8 times out of 10, they have no policy and they have nothing in savings. So when we get them to acknowledge that, it's also something that you can use in your recap when someone says they don't have anything saved. And if someone does get offended, then you would say, oh, I'm sorry, if I've offended you, I'm just trying to figure out what you currently have in place to protect your family. And when we get to policy options, we can customize things to be appropriate compared to what you already have. That's all.
Perfect.
So it makes them feel, it makes them come to the realization that they need to put some kind of protection in place.
You got it. Exactly.
Right. One thing I do say when they say, well, I don't have anything else is, oh, okay. So I guess it's really important that we try and find something that works for you today then.
Yeah, and that's also a way to tie those two questions back, like acting surprised. Oh, wow. So it's
I like that.
That's the reason that those questions are there.
So before here recently, were you out there, actively looking for a solution to put something in place for yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, and how long have you actually been looking?
I've been looking for a little while,
A little while now? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So why is putting something in place for you?
What did you skip, Malik?
I skip, and what did you find? All right.
What did you find? Yeah, what did you find? Because why have they been looking for that long? We don't even really know the time frame. But why haven't what did they find? Why haven't they bought up into this point? Right? We have to uncover and figure out the reasoning behind the emotion, why it's been so frustrating for them, while they've been researching.
I normally don't miss that question though.
And then the why is putting something in place for your family so important to you now, which is the question you're asking. That question is really tough to ask if you haven't asked these questions first, right? Because you're slowly peeling the onion a little bit more. So you've identified they don't have any policies, they don't have anything in savings, they have been looking prior to this call, they've been looking for X amount of time, they haven't found anything. Why haven't they found anything? Have they ever had life insurance before? What happened to that policy? So there's so many things that you missed there to get them to give you more information about their current situation that now allows you to say, okay, so why is putting something in place for your family so important to you now then?
I understand.
Important to you now.
Well, if anything did happen to me or whatnot, I'd like to have something in place, so they can continue on.
I got you. Okay. Makes sense to me. Now, what expenses?
With my burial.
Let him finish talking.
Okay, that was my next question. I was going to ask what expenses would your family be responsible for paying if something were to happen to you? So your burial is one of them?
Right.
Okay. Anything else outside of that?
Just those things like if the house not paid for or whatnot, carry on. That's everything to be covered, even for the person I'm with, to make sure that they can live life, the way I've been trying to keep it for them or better,
Okay. No, I understand.
So that was really good, Malik. If you guys aren't asking the why question, why is this so important to you now? Like, he just told Malik why this was so important to him, right? He didn't just say it out loud and told Malik, he told himself. Right. He wants to make sure if something were to happen to him, this is the result of that. So that was really good. And he, was able to get that customer to say why he needed it now. So that was really good.
I really like
I totally understand that. Now, all right, so God forbid if you were to pass away tomorrow, because of course nobody knows the day or the hour that would occur, who would be the one responsible in your family for going down to the funeral home, meeting the funeral director, making those decisions, and having to pay all the costs associated with the funeral?
My fiance would be.
Your fiance? Okay, your fiance. Okay. All right. Now, just to get a clearer picture, have you by chance given some thought as to whether you would prefer a traditional?
Yeah, I got it. Of course. See, the next one. So, do you want your fiance to pay all those costs, all the expenses if you didn't have to? Like some people, a lot of people, they say, well, of course.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, yeah, yes. It's intended to be an obvious question, but see how it's written here. So, I imagine you probably don't want your fiance to have to pay for all those expenses if she didn't have to, right? Yeah, of course. Okay, but why though?
Okay, so I have to look at it like that. I imagine you don't want to have it because the way that I have it here, because I printed out. I have the script in front of me. That's just
always go back to the Google Doc.
Okay.
Periodically to see if there's any changes.
Okay.
Yeah, because that's been like this for a while. Okay. So I imagine, Freeman, you probably don't want your fiance to have to pay for all those expenses if she didn't have to then, right?
Oh, yeah, you just gave me something. I'm going to be using that.
Okay, but why though?
All right. I got you. Okay.
And now he's gonna tell you even more about why he doesn't want her to pay for it. You're gonna get even more information from him about maybe stuff she's going through or other kids she has, or who knows what you would have found out had you asked.
Okay.
Prefer a traditional burial with a casket and headstone, or do you prefer a cremation instead?
I haven't given it a whole lot of thought, as far as that was concerned. I guess traditional would be the one right offhand.
Okay. All right, no problem. So a traditional burial. Okay. Now, so, have you thought about what would happen if you decided not to do anything at all?
Yeah. There'd be a lot of problems for a lot of other people.
It would be. Okay.
You know, yeah, because, you know, so somebody's going to have to make sure everything is taken care of if I don't make sure it's taken care of.
Exactly. Okay, I'm with you 100% with that. Okay. So if there was a way.
So I just want to pause here really quick, because if someone volunteers an answer as far as, yes, have they thought about what would happen if they didn't do anything at all, and then they go on like they just did with Malik, you know, obviously you don't have to ask, does that cause you to be concerned? Because they're telling you.
Right.
Yes, that's only there if you get a one-word answer. So I'm bringing that up because I've heard people kind of ask that question after someone's already given them an answer, and it it makes them maybe feel like, why are you asking me that question? I already told you why.
I actually wanted to bring that up because I would say that happens to me, where I get an answer to a question that I'm about to ask them. So instead of asking them a question, like I'll be like, okay, so it's fair to assume that you don't want to be a burden on your family because, you know, we had just, you know, talked about that. So it's like, I don't want to ask them the question again. So is that a good way to keep it going?
I
mean, so just for instance, so, you know, God forbid you were to pass away tomorrow, because nobody knows the day or the hour. You get through that, and then you're like, at the end of that, they already tell you the answer to the next question. So I'm not going to ask him the question right after he's told me the answer to it. I kind of just.
They told you that they don't want their kids to have to pay for it?
Right. So instead of asking them a question, I'll be like, you know, so as you already told me, you know, it's fair to assume that you don't want your daughter to pay off for all those expenses if she didn't have to.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So It's not like a question. It's just, you know, I got you. I hear what you're saying.
And if they already told you why,
right, you
don't ask them why.
Right.
Exactly. So you have to because you can't script every single conversation, every scenario. You having, not you, Stephen, you, the team, have to have a really good understanding of when to ask the questions, why we're asking the questions. And if you already have the answers to them, don't ask.
The way that you could get like exactly what you're looking for at an affordable cost to you, would that help you out at all?
Yeah.
Okay, which ways would that help you out the most?
It helped me out, you know, as far as pre-planning my own situation, as far as me dying. You know, that, you know, I'm not gonna remember nothing once I'm gone.
No, of
so
course
like,
not.
I'm doing it now, you know, so I'll have a vision of what it might be.
Okay. All right. So I'm just going to recap with you to make sure I'm on the same page with you. So you don't have anything in place right now to protect your family, but you have looked into this so that way you can make sure that you're not a burden to your loved ones, to your fiance. You want to make sure he doesn't have to come out of pocket. You also want to make sure that whatever you get is affordable to you. And then after the final expenses have been covered, whatever difference remaining, that will go to your fiance to help her financially. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, very good.
So the only thing I would change, Malik, what are the only things I would change about that? I want Malik to answer that first.
I guess to not skip questions.
No. I'm sorry, about your recap.
About my recap. I guess speak slower. You know.
No. Who wants? Okay, someone else answer.
Give them time. Give the client time to answer each.
No, just about the recap. I just what about Malik's recap? What would be the only things that I would change about his recap? We just went over this in April's.
Was it the lack of feeling words?
Yes.
The lack of feeling words. Okay.
So if you have to even write down, use 2 to 3 feeling words in your recaps. This makes a really big difference. And you're going to be surprised at how people respond to you when you insert how they've been feeling about a situation. It will make them feel so much more connected to you, because people buy off emotion 100% of the time, and they justify their purchase with logic. So if you would have said, it's probably caused you to feel a little anxiety because if you were to pass away, your fiance would be stuck, holding the bag. But you have to insert the reasons that they gave you.
Right.
Right. So it's like a formula. So in here, in the recap, you're inserting that he doesn't have any coverage. We don't really know why he didn't buy it because you didn't ask him what he found or what that caused him to feel like, or if he's ever had insurance before. So you can't use any of that, but that's an opportunity to insert a feeling word because people looking around for this stuff can feel a number of different emotions. They can feel frustrated, they can feel overwhelmed, they can feel confused. So there's negative feelings associated with that a lot of times. Not having any coverage in place causes people to feel the same type of emotions. And then you always want to end it with giving them a feeling of having peace of mind. That when you have this taken care of, when you put something in place, that you're going to have peace of mind, that when you do go, your fiance will have nothing to worry about, that this will all be taken care of for her. So you have 2 feeling words at the beginning about their current situation, and then ending it with a positive feeling word at the end to get them to start painting the picture of what it's going to feel like when they have it.
That's powerful. Okay.
And a lot of why people aren't buying from us is because we're not doing a good enough job in the beginning to get them to really open up and tell us their current situation, why they don't have any insurance, why they haven't bought it now, what's preventing them from getting it, what does that feel like, what's going to happen if you don't put something in place, what does that feel like, and putting that all together for them. And now once you do that, they're going to be way more open to hearing what you have to say when you go into pitch mode, right? When we go into that next part. But overall, Malik, I think that you're doing a good job. Was the question that you were most concerned about this one? I imagine you probably don't want your XYZ person to pay for it. Do you feel like you have a better handle on that now?
Yeah, because you switched that word. So I imagine, I'm just looking at, because I printed this out a while ago. And so now I'm looking at it at a different perspective on how to connect with them.
Okay.
Because of that word there. So yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So we have time for one more. Who wants to go?
You can do mine from yesterday.
Okay.
Eugene Mosley in Virginia.
All right. Was it an outbound call or a transfer?
That was a follow-up cold call.
Okay.
Now, since we had our meeting, you and I've been trying to soften the way that I come across with the script. Because I know you said that I sound like an iRobot sometimes.
An iRobot.
So yeah, I've been trying to do that, and in the area where what type of protection and stuff like that, they don't give you the answer that you really need to move on to the next question, dig deeper. I haven't really had much of that, but I mean, I've been trying to get better at that. So,
well, let's take a listen.
Pick me apart.
Oh. Hello.
Hello, Eugene. This is Steve DeFazio. We talked the other day. You asked me to give you a call back.
Oh, yeah. All right. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me get to my computer. All right. What you got for me?
I just want to verify a couple things really quick. Okay. So, Eugene, before I get into what we do, I just have a few questions I'd like to ask so I can get a better understanding of what you might be looking for and make sure I can even help you in the first place, okay?
Sure.
All right. So what type of protection, if any, do you currently have in place for your family in case something were to happen to you?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Have you ever had anything in place or?
No, it's been years.
Okay. So how long have you been on the search for something to put in place?
Well, I really just started.
Okay. They haven't really found anything yet?
The inquiry that I did yesterday was the first one that I did. And,
Okay.
Then you called.
Okay. All right. So, Eugene, what expenses,
What could you have said to dig a little deeper there?
Is there something that's happened that's made you decide to start looking again?
It's not bad.
I could have asked what happened to his last policy.
Definitely. Or when you submitted your inquiry, did you get any other calls or did you get any other quotes? Just to kind of get like a better picture of his current situation, because it's still like there's things you don't know. There's things that you'll never know unless you ask.
No, there's more information I could have got.
Definitely more information.
Okay.
Then you called.
Okay. All right. So, Eugene, what expenses would your family be liable for paying if something were to happen to you?
So did you ever ask any of these questions here? Or are we just not there yet? The why is putting something in place so important to you now?
I need to get on that Google reference as well because my script's
too.
different. So I need to get on there because it's different than what I have.
Okay, yeah. So he told you that he used to have a policy. It was kind of hard to hear on my end, but yeah, this would have definitely given you a lot of opportunity to open up more situation questions for him about like.
Yeah,
like,
I want to.
so much more, right?
Yeah.
For paying if something were to happen to you and you passed away?
Oh, just myself and my son. So I mean, he'd be responsible for everything. Without let's say without my Social Security, then he would be in bad shape.
Okay. So you don't want your son to have to pay for all those expenses. He doesn't have
Nope.
to, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay. Hey, just so I can get a clearer picture, have you given any thought as to whether you want a traditional burial or cremation?
I'd say traditional.
Okay. Can you tell me more about what brought you to that choice?
It's just what I'm used to.
Okay. So, Eugene, have you thought about what would happen if you decided not to do anything at all?
Okay, somebody tell me
I
why.
skipped the question.
That's okay, but I want to know why. I want to know your interpretation of why it's even in there. All right, so if he said it's just what I'm used to, okay. So how important is it to you then that your final wishes of having a traditional burial are able to be carried out by your son? So that's a question because it's expensive to have a traditional burial, right? So, how important is it that they're even able to be carried out? That's and if he says, what do you mean by that? You could say, well, it's a minimum of, $10,000 to have a traditional burial. So if he didn't have the ability to pay for that, what's the alternative?
Gotcha.
Just kind of like getting them to think a little bit more about it in the scope of their life.
Mm-hmm.
So the questions, some of them are not always going to be 100% go the way the script goes. But in this case, you would have had a great opportunity to ask that.
Gotcha.
Because any opportunity you have to get the customer to tell you why they need something is a huge win.
Okay. So, Eugene, have you thought about what would happen if you decided not to do anything at all?
If I did nothing?
Yeah, if you didn't, have you ever put any thought into what would happen if you didn't put anything in place for your son?
Well, my family would be looking stupid. They
Okay.
wouldn't have any way be trying to scrape up some money, for a funeral.
Okay. Totally understand. So, you know, if there is a way that you can get exactly what you're looking for at an affordable cost, that would help you out, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I just want.
So you missed an opportunity there too, right? So it feels to me that you're rushing through some of these questions to just get a quick answer to move on. That's what it feels like when I'm listening to it. You can slow down a little bit. Just say, okay, so if there was a way you could get exactly what you're looking for at an affordable cost to you, would that help you out at all? Yes. Okay, great. And in which ways do you think that would help you the most? Just another way for them, because you're going to have people that may not be as open to answering all the questions in a paragraph. So when you do have someone that is, every time you can ask the questions, they tell you more and more and more. It's going to help with your recap too, when you summarize everything. But for the people that maybe are a little bit more closed, these additional questions might help them to pull out something within them. And if you're practicing skipping them, you're going to miss them every time.
So I just want to recap real quick, make sure I'm on the same page as you. So from what I'm getting from you, you did have something in place, but that was years ago.
Yeah.
And you just started looking again. And
so do you see how you missed an opportunity, Stephen, to talk about what happened to that policy and how not having coverage has caused him to feel?
Yes.
Okay.
I haven't really, you know, come up with anything until now, until me and you have spoken. And then your son's going to be responsible for, you know, going down to the funeral home, taking care of all the expenses.
Yep.
And you just want to make sure that, you know, he doesn't have anything to worry about when you pass.
Right.
Okay.
The feel words. I'm missing the feel words.
Yeah, most people are.
I got to work on that.
It's so important. It may sound trivial, but when you can connect with someone on how a situation is making them feel, they are going to be butter in your hands.